So today we are going to study a little bit about the bacteria and in details about the anatomy and physiology of the bacteria. So this a bit of details you have done in your high school, right? About bacteria. So who can tell me bacteria is eukaryotic or prokaryotic? Prokaryotic, okay. Why it is prokaryotic? Single cell. So bacteria have single cell and all we humans have multiple cells, right? So that is one basic difference from bacteria and human beings or animals. Okay. So now we'll go in a little bit of details about it. So today we are going to learn about basic morphology. Can you guys see the board? Basic morphology, physiology, and classification and common infectious disease caused by the bacteria. So structure of the bacteria, the bacterial cell anatomy, if you say as such, it is basically enveloped. There's a cover, there's a covering. When you put something inside an envelope, so it also has an envelope. Is for the protective mechanism. So it is an envelope. Now let us see what is there in that envelope. It consists of cell wall and plasma membrane. That envelope consists of cell wall and plasma membrane. So each and every word is important. The cell wall is important. You need to know what is in the cell wall of bacteria. Okay, because we are now studying about microbiology as such. So this is another section, bacteriology section. Then you have mycology section. What is mycology? Study of fungi. Okay. And what is mycobacteriology? Mycobacterium. So you are studying about the mycobacterium. Okay. That is another type of bacteria only, but there is another, it's a specialized section usually in our department also you will see. Then you have virology, study of the viruses. Then what else? Parasitology, study of parasites. So these are the things that you will be studying in microbiology as such. So the cell envelope consists of cell wall and plasma membrane, and then after that is the cytoplasm. If you remember the cytoplasm from your high school studies, cell wall, cytoplasm, and then you have the cell, appendages. The bacteria also has certain appendages all around the bacterial cell wall. So this is a very simple diagram which I tried to put for you from your high school diagram, right? That is bacterial cell, it is a capsule, and all bacteria may not be having a capsule also. Okay, we'll see how it loses the capsule. That is also a part that you should know. How to demonstrate the capsule also. Cell wall, then plasma membrane. It has this organ of locomotion, the flagellum, pili, and then we have ribosomes inside the cytoplasm, and we have a nucleoid or the DNA. It is just lying there. There is no nuclear membrane. Because it is a prokaryotic cell, it doesn't have any membrane surrounding this. So the nucleoid or the DNA is just lying inside in the cytoplasm. Okay. And next is the cell envelope, the cell wall. Let us see about the cell wall now. It provides structural support and rigidity. It gives rigidity to the cell and protection against osmotic lysis, protects from toxic substances and antibiotics. So now this bacteria has evolved so much. Okay. So it has evolved in such a way that it can exist. It doesn't die. So we are using lot of antibiotics to kill the bacteria. Right? Why you are using? If it is infecting a human being, you take antibiotics, right? When you're having maybe UTI or maybe you're having an infection, So then you take antibiotics. What does it go? It goes and it attacks this bacteria. And you see, you get okay within 5 days, 6 days, you are fine, right? So this bacteria have attained, got this cell wall, which is a protective mechanism, and that cell wall doesn't allow many, antibiotics to enter. So that is, there is specific antibiotics which will act only on the cell wall. There are certain antibiotics which cannot do anything to the cell wall of the bacteria. You understand? So these are such mechanisms they have in the cell wall. They're so tiny organisms, unicellular, but even then they have got this cell wall which is so rigid. Okay. Then we have the cell wall has certain virulence factors which contribute to the pathogenicity. So that is also important factor of the cell wall. So organism can become virulent because of its cell wall. Okay. Immunity. For immunity also, antibodies raised against the cell wall antigen may provide immunity against bacterial infections. So as I told you earlier, what is that? What is immunity? Do you know? Can you tell me what is immunity in one line? Yes. So when a bacteria enters our body, what will happen? If any bacteria enters our body, what will happen? Our defense mechanism, our immune system will rise, right? They will go and try to, there are certain cells which will go and try to kill that bacteria. Okay. So that is how they will be, producing antibodies inside our body. The specific antigens will stimulate to produce the antibodies. So that is also a mechanism which is helped by this cell wall. Then distinguishing and identifying the different types of bacteria by gram staining characteristic. This is an important staining technique which we use every day in the microbiology lab. Okay. Suppose a sample comes to you in the lab, maybe urine sample or sputum sample. Let me think about a sputum sample. One patient came, he is given a sputum sample. Now I want to see whether which bacteria is in that sputum sample. Okay. So now I will first inoculate it in a plate. I have shown some people that plate, petri dish, you saw na? So we inoculate in the petri dish. Okay. Everybody will get to see these things. So then that favorable condition, everything, you give the nutrition to the bacteria. Then you look for the colonies, you keep it in the incubator, look for the colonies. When the colonies have appeared, you will take them and make a smear. You have made a smear, right? Make a smear. Now that smear we have to do a staining, because you cannot see, without staining, you cannot see the bacteria. So you have to do a staining. That is the gram staining. We want to do the gram staining and we want to differentiate between gram positive bacteria and gram negative bacteria, because our whole line of identification will become different. For gram positive, we have to put some set of biochemical tests different. For gram negative, we have to do different biochemical tests. So our first decision making is the gram staining, and that is depending, its characteristics depending on the cell wall. Now there is a plasma membrane also. This is a phospholipid bilayer which surrounds the cytoplasm of the bacterial cell, and this internal environment of the bacteria to perform the necessary metabolic processes. So what is going to come inside the cell, what is going to go outside the cell, this is somewhat like the plasma membrane is there to decide flow of different substances in and out of the cell. So this is a prokaryotic cell. This diagram which you can see here, these are the internal structures. We want to show certain internal structures. In that we have the nucleoid. You have seen the nucleoid which is lying there here. Okay. Typically comprising a single circular chromosome and serving as the primary repository of genetic information is the nucleoid. It doesn't have no membrane in the nucleoid. Then we have plasmids. These plasmids are also here in the cytoplasm only, and are small circular DNA molecules which also carries the genetic information separate from the main chromosome. These are not within this. It usually lies in the cytoplasm, and that can confer various advantageous traits to the bacterial cells. So we say plasmid mediated drug resistance. So if a bacteria, one or two bacteria are there, so those bacteria are having that particular plasmid which can cause drug resistance. So it can also, when it multiplies, it can also give its plasmid to that other daughter or progeny bacteria, and that's how they keep on giving the drug resistances. So plasmid is one important factor. Then inclusion bodies are insoluble cytoplasmic structures lacking a membrane. So inclusion bodies are all here. Okay. So serve as reservoirs for storage of essential molecules within the cells. Then we have ribosomes, which are the protein synthesis. All of you know this. We have ribosomes inside, and also the mesosomes. Mesosomes you can see here is given here. They are the folding in plasma membrane for cellular respiration and cell division. So here it's a very simple, this structure or diagram which you also can draw. But all these important: nucleoid, plasmid, inclusion bodies, ribosomes, and mesosomes. Okay. Now appendages. So they have certain external structures which are protruding outside. They are called as the appendages. Now what are the appendages? We have flagellum, we have pili or fimbria, we have tunneling nanotubules, and we have curly fibers. So this flagellum is the organ of locomotion. You can see here the flagella with which it moves, the bacteria will move. Okay. So this is the organ of locomotion or movement and provides motility to the bacteria. The fimbria or the pili helps in, they also have some sort of helps to the bacteria to twitching motion. But organ of locomotion, if anyone asks, is the flagellum. And this pili or fimbria, you can see here, what is it? Pili. Okay. These are helping for the attachment or adhesion. Attachment or the adhesion, developing contact for genetic exchange and conjugation, like genetic material transfer. Okay. Next is the tunneling nanotubules. You have here tunneling nanotubules are the tubular structures which help in exchange of cellular meiosis in the adjacent cells, whereas the spherical shaped membrane vesicles help in exchange and delivery of various cellular meiosis even to the far away cells. So that's just for exchange of materials is important, this tunneling nanotubules. The curly fibers help the bacterium in attachment and cell aggregation. So these are the appendages. Now, but somehow in our microbiology part, for your exam purpose, just knowing those structure is not important. Is not only important. You have to know how to demonstrate them, because practical aspect. How to identify. What is the practical aspect? By seeing these capsules, by seeing this different movement, we can identify the bacteria. Whole intention is how to identify the bacteria. In microbiology, our whole intention is to identify, because we want to identify the causative organism. You understand? Once you can find out, okay, this is Escherichia coli, then you can do a lot of things. You can help the patient. So whole intention behind learning the structure for your purpose is application based. You understand? What is the application of it? Why you want to know this capsule? How can you demonstrate it? So you will get questions on those, or viva questions, or exam like so. So capsule and the slime layer. So the bacteria have a amorphous viscid, mostly polysaccharide material outside the cell wall. I have one or two photos later, I'll show you. Like outside the cell wall, outside that also they have some capsule which is polysaccharide material, and it's like lying there. Example is polysaccharide is pneumococcus. This is a cocci. You saw the cocci? Okay, cocci you've seen, right? Pneumococcus. And so there are different types of cocci. Okay, we have streptococci, we have staphylococci, we have pneumococci, okay, we have enterococci, all these cocci. They are all spherical shapes and different arrangements. That is how we identify them. Their growth characteristics we identify. The media, how they are growing, we identify. So this particular pneumococci has a capsule around it. All bacteria do not have capsule. So some have, so that we can use it as a identifying, characteristics. That is our advantage. So pneumococcus also has a capsule. The capsule is polysaccharide. You need to know this polysaccharide. They'll ask you in exams. Is it polysaccharide capsule, or like Bacillus anthracis has got a polypeptide capsule. Okay. Whatever information I put here is important for you guys, because I cannot put everything from the book. The book has so much, right? So 1 hour I cannot cover. So basically in exams, they usually ask you the application based. What is the applied? How are you using that knowledge? So polypeptide is Bacillus anthracis. And here we have again Haemophilus influenzae. H. influenzae also has got capsule, and Klebsiella pneumoniae also has got a beautiful capsule around it. Okay. Next is the slime layer. So capsule and slime layer, what is the difference? If anyone asks, can you tell me from this? Slime layer, you understand slimy? Slimy. We also say this person is a slimy character. You see that? We use this for describing a person's character, whom we cannot like. The slimy character means what? Huh? He is not honest. He may tell you, okay, I will do it, but he will not do it, right? Something like that. Okay. So this means you cannot hold that. Slimy, those many vegetables are having slimy. So this particular slime layer is unorganized. It's not very well defined. Okay. It's not very well defined. Okay. So unorganized loose material, but this capsule is organized. Okay. So function is bacterial virulence, protects bacteria from phagocytosis and from host cell lysosome. Lysosome is an enzyme, right? And from our host cells, we produce lysosomes. So this has got a protective mechanism for the bacteria. For the bacteria to survive, to go and cause some infection, it is helping the bacteria out. Okay. So it's tough for us, for the antibiotic to go and protrude that slime layer of the bacteria and then kill it. Go inside the, go inside the slime layer, go inside the cell wall and then kill it. So what happens is prosthetic valves, sometimes you have to put valves in the heart, So then they go and sit there because some bacteria will go and lodge there. The slime layer will be there, and then you cannot, the antibiotics are of no use. The patient is you're giving antibiotics, you are injecting, but he's not getting okay. Okay? Like CAUTI, we say catheter associated urinary tract infection. Okay? So patient has catheter. Sometimes when you have surgery or any other cause, you have to put a catheter because he's not able to go to the washroom. You have to put a catheter. Okay. So these catheters, usually patients who are having the catheter, what happens? It's very difficult to treat them. They may have urinary tract infection. Now, we know that this particular bacteria is there. We have isolated the bacteria that this is coming from his urine. So what happens when I will ask the patient whether he is in a hospital, if he is having a catheter or not, then I know that, okay, why he is not responding. Okay, because of this slime layer, Klebsiella pneumoniae, which is produced, and it is not allowing the bacteria to go and, antibiotic to go and kill the bacteria. Now you understand how this is really a havoc to us or human beings. So bacterial virulence, it helps in the bacterial virulence, and biofilm formation helps bacteria to adhere to foreign body like prosthetic valves, endocarditis causing endocarditis, and CAUTI. What is catheter associated urinary tract infection? Okay, we learn everything in details. We have another chapter for this. Hospital acquired infection you will be taught. So in that you will read. Identification and typing of bacteria. What I was telling you, all these characteristics we use for identifying the bacteria and typing the bacteria. Vaccines. Even for development of the vaccines we use. Capsular antigens used as, for example, pneumococcus vaccines for preparing the pneumococcus vaccines. Now comes demonstration of capsule. How to demonstrate it? How to see it? We cannot see it very easily. So, negative staining, India ink and nigrosin. What is negative staining? One or two people can say, because that day we are explaining about negative staining. Class में बताया था ना उस दिन, है ना? To your class, we are talking about negative staining. The word negative means what? Background is stained. Okay? The background is stained. The bacteria is not stained. Okay? So in this, what you say, another stain is there. Congo red stain is also for capsule. So India ink and nigrosin. This will be Niger means black. Okay? These are all black stained. India ink is also black stained. This is name of stains. Okay? So you stain the sample. It will basically, when you put the smear, the stain will be basically, the background will be black and this bacteria will be seen against the black background. That is demonstrating a negative stain. Then I have one or two slides for you. I'll show you later. Then you have this amphetamine capsule stain, that is Bacillus anthracis, using polychrome methylene blue stain. Even by polychrome methylene blue stain, we can also stain this Bacillus anthracis. Another reaction which is also often asked in your exams, Quillang reaction. It's for the capsule, okay? Demonstrating capsule in Streptococcus pneumoniae by adding capsular antisera mixed with methylene blue stain. What they do is, see, when you use antisera means it has got antibodies in it, okay? And you are having the particular capsular antigen of what? Pneumococcus, pneumonia. So what will pneumococcal or pneumococcus? So you add them together, antisera and means antibodies and antigen. It causes agglutination. And you see that agglutination reaction. Along with that, there are some latex particles. So it is easy to visualize. I will show you that one or two slides on this. So that is also identifying or test by which we can demonstrate the capsule. Next is latex agglutination test, anti-capsular antibodies coated on latex particles, pneumococcus, H. influenzae and meningococcus. All this can be visualized by this anti-capsular antibody acting and agglutination test. Next is the flagella. So we have finished the capsule. Next is the flagella. Flagella is for locomotion, movement. Structure of bacterial flagella. So you have a diagram in your book. I did not put it. It becomes too much. Okay. You need to know the diagram, the structure of the flagella. A typical bacterial flagellum has three parts. Flagellum has got filament, hook and basal body. Basal body is the one which it anchors the flagellum into the cell wall and membrane, and the basal body functions as a motor, rotating the flagellum using energy from the proton motive force. So it is the anchoring part, is the basal body. Then you have the hook, a short curved segment that connects the filament to the basal body, the middle part, and acts as a flexible coupling. Then you have the filament, the long helical part that extends outside the cell, made of a protein called as flagellin. This is also asked, flagellin, okay? Protein called as flagellin. So it is like a whip-like structure which is going outside from the bacteria. So is it clear? Filament, hook and basal body. Very simple, not much things. Now, types of flagellar arrangement. So, these are also asked. So, these flagellas in bacteria, we have, we use this for, again, for identification. Okay. So, they can ask you what is the monotrichous. Mono means what? See, in medical, if you know terminology, you can break it down and you know a lot of things. Okay, you can answer half of the things. Mono means half, one. Okay, monotrichous means one flagella. So monotrichous is one flagellum at one end. We have got vibrocolli. So this flagellar movement of this vibrocolli is the identifying feature. I'll tell you. Vibrocolli causes cholera, and cholera is a notifiable disease. If a person has cholera, so then the PSM department, you know, preventive and social medicine, you have a subject? Do you have? Okay. So the PSM department will become active and go and see what is happening, why there is a cholera case in this area. We have to find out any other patients around in that area if there is a cholera, and we have to identify them, we have to treat them, we have to segregate them. You know, it's a notifiable disease. So now what happens is cholera, the patient comes with diarrhea, which is called as rice water stool diarrhea. The stool is just like rice water, you know, rice water, just like rice water. I have seen patients, many patients, who are having rice water stool. They will come middle of the night for it, concave slides. You have an activity to see the motility of bacteria. In that, you cannot trace the bacteria. Suppose you are tracing one bacteria, you want to see how far it is going, you cannot trace because it moves so fast. You know, dart, it's like that. Dart, you play dart, right? So it is called darting motility. So with that, we can identify a bacteria with the motility also. And then you can say this is a Vibrio cholerae. So darting motility means 200% it is cholera. Okay, so this is monotrichous. Then we have Lophotrichus, a cluster of flagella at one end. Cluster means many together in one end. Then Amphitrichus, one or more flagella at both the ends. Peritrichus is, peri means what? Surrounding. Okay, remember this word. We have in medical terminology. It will come again and again. Peri. Peri means surrounding, all around. Peritrichus is flagella all over the surface. For example, in E. coli. And cephalotrichus is tuft of flagella at both the ends. So I have a figure for you here. Atrichus, there is no flagella. It may not be there also. Maybe it has lost the flagella during its culture, subculture, or any other antibiotic has been used. Many circumstances be there, or it is not there. We have one bacteria who doesn't have any flagella also. Monotrichus is one. Amphitrichus is two. Monotrichus was what? Which one? Vibrio cholerae. Huh? And then we had Cephalotrichus, Peritrichus and Lophotrichus. Okay. Bacteria use flagella for taxis or movement in response to stimuli also. It's like there are different conditions when they move also. There is also there, stimuli. Chemotaxis is towards or away from chemicals. Phototaxis is response to light. Photo means light. Aerotaxis is response to oxygen. Movement patterns, they have tumbling. I have one video for movement. Tumbling motive. Now we also have characterized them according to their movement, how they are moving. One was darting, I told you already. Tumbling is reorientation caused by flagellar rotation, change, listeria. Darting motility, swarming on this agar plate, Proteus. And then corkscrew motility, the spirochetes. For the swarming motility, what happens? You can identify just if you put in an agar plate, this Proteus, we have Proteus vulgaris, Proteus mirabilis, there are certain strains of Proteus, which will move if you put the colonies here, but overnight when you come next day, you will see, you know the ripples. Ripple, do you know what is the meaning of ripple? Put a stone in water, it produces ripples. Na? So it will cause ripple sort of effect. So the swarming is movement like that. So swarming motility on agar plate due to Proteus. Detection of flagella, electron microscopes can find, or tanning acid staining, and also indirect method by demonstrating motility by hanging drop, which you will do, hanging drop, dark ground or phase contrast microscopes. So these are also the ways how you can see the motility of the bacteria. Next is the pili or the fimbria. Okay, these are for attachment or conjugation. Okay. Short, fine hair-like appendages help in adhesion called organ of adhesion. Two types usually, common pili or sex pili. Common pili help in bacterial adhesion and thus colonization in GNB and GPC, with gram-negative bacilli and gram-positive cocci. Colonization, what I want to emphasize here, what happens is, I was talking to you about this catheter, right? So many times it happens, you have got those central lines, they put central lines whenever you want to put some infusions, or a patient, you have to put multiple injections. He's an IPD patient in the ICU, then you put central lines. So what happens sometimes, the bacteria goes and sits there in that area of where is the insertion area, and it causes colonization. Means colony, understand, right? It goes and sit there and causes colonization. It may be from your own bacterial flora also. Your bacterial flora, we have skin flora. Staphylococcus epidermidis is a bacteria which is found in all of our skin. Okay, so it can cause colonization. So that particular, the patient, what he will do, he will not have any symptoms. He will not have fever, no TC count is high. So the bacteria is not causing any harm, but is going and staying there. It is causing colonization. So that is what they are saying. Colonization demonstrates, and demonstration by electron, in GNB and GPC, sex pili is help in conjugation in the gram-negative bacteria. Demonstration can be done by electron microscope, formation of surface pellicle. Okay, E. coli uses Fimbria to attach to the urinary tract, which can lead to UTI. Very important for you. Okay. In one lifetime, every female may get once UTI. It is so prevalent. Why females get more UTI than males? Can anyone think? Just the opposite. It just told the opposite. Huh? It's not the urinary tract. It is the distance from the urethra to the anus. Okay. So whatever, you see, you will be seeing your patients, you will have more female patients of urinary tract infection than males. Okay. So if a male is having urinary tract infection, it needs investigation, maybe ultrasound and all, because very less chances that he is getting infected from his own stool sample. Basically, it comes from it's due to wrong hygiene, wrong way of cleaning. Okay. So the own flora from, our stool has got a lot of bacteria, you know that. We have that, and it's supposed to stay there. It's not supposed to go in the urinary tract. When it is going in the urinary tract, it's causing problem. And if you don't address that, if you just hide that, it can even damage your kidneys. Okay. So this E. coli has got fimbrias, those small, you saw those structures. It goes and it attaches, it helps to attach with the urinary tract. So it's difficult to remove that attachment. This is a survival mechanism of the bacteria. Okay. So pili, Neisseria gonorrhoeae uses pili to attach to host cells and for DNA uptake during transformation. This is also a bacteria which causes gonorrhea, which is also STD. So Neisseria gonorrhoeae pathogenicity is worsened by this pili, because it's very difficult. It goes and it attaches to the genital areas. So that's how these bacteria possess the defensive mechanisms. Atypical forms of bacteria. This is also important. Now we have seen normal bacteria, how they are having flagella, fimbria and all stuff, right? Cell wall and all. But now what happens sometimes, there may be atypical. You understand atypical? What is the meaning of atypical? What is typical? What is atypical? Huh? Not usual. Many times you will get this terminology, atypical. Okay. So atypical forms of bacteria is involution forms which are swollen. Suppose you are doing culture. Now this culture plate, you are doing several passaging or you are leaving it there for long duration. So some changes will be there in the bacterium. So the bacteria gets swollen. So that way is that some characteristic of the bacteria is lost. So like pleomorphic is variation in the shape and size. Some bacteria they are pleomorphic, like H. influenza they are pleomorphic. Pleomorphic means sometimes it may be cocoid shape, sometimes it will be little bacilli also. You know, pleomorphic we say like that. And then pleo means what? Various, variety. No? And cell wall deficient forms also, like cell wall is lost. They have lost the cell wall. Originally the bacteria has cell wall, but now due to certain antibiotics or lysozymes which has acted on the bacterial cell wall, it has lost the bacterial cell wall. So that wall form also is also called as L forms. Okay. Then bacterial spores. This is very important. Examiners are very fond of spores. Okay. You may get a question on spores. What is this spore? Highly resistant resting stage in unfavorable condition. Have you heard of this word spore? Heard? What is it? Huh? Reproductive? No, this is actually when we have got two forms of bacteria, vegetative forms and spore form. Suppose the bacteria has got particular environment, its requirement, it has got a particular temperature, it has got requirement for nutrition, it has got requirement for particular pH, okay, and now it is not getting that. So what it will do is, it will try to survive, okay. Everything, we also all try to survive, right? We may not eat for several days, but we also will survive, right? There are people, you know, sadhus, they don't eat for so many days together, but they survive. Maybe a little bit of sip of water. Yeah? So bacteria, what they do, they become a spore. They change their shape. They'll form a tough, resistant spore coat, and they try to stay in that spore stage. And whenever they have the favorable conditions, they'll wait for that. They again become the vegetative forms. Okay? So that is the spore. Though they are highly resistant resting stage in unfavorable conditions. The spore, bacterial spore has got structures. Its core is the DNA, you can see, is there. Then they have inner membrane. There's an inner membrane here. Then they have the cortex. Cortex is important, cortex. And then outer membrane, spore coat. They also have a coat. Okay, spore coat, this one. And then the exosporium. So, see, there are so many layers now formed. Okay. See, just unicellular, single cell bacteria, how they try to evolve, how they try to exist even in very adverse conditions. This is like very good example for us also. We always crave, right? We don't have this, we don't have that. So, but sometimes now you guys are studying there, you'll be facing a lot of adversities. But this will not remain forever. One day you will finish your course, you will go, you will become like doctors, MBBS, then you will finish your internship, then you will become MDs, you may do super specialization. So things changes. It will not be the same always. But you should try to be happy at whatever stage you are. In whatever circumstances you are, you should try to stay happy. Okay. So our bacteria is happy as a spore stage here. Next, bacterial spore positions. Even they ask that. Spore positions. So this is an identifying characteristics. We can identify the bacteria by their location. So Clostridium tetani causes what? Tetanus. You know tetanus? What is tetanus? One or two lines. We will read in microbiology a lot about tetanus, but So you have heard of TT, tetanus toxoid vaccine. You have taken also, right? So if you have a prick with anything like any iron or something, rust thing, you have to put a TT, right? So what is this? What is the scare? Why do you take that vaccine? If you are having a roadside accident or anything like on your foot, if you have, you should take a TT because this bacterial spores may be there and you are basically exposed. Your skin, there's a breach in the skin. You are exposing the skin to that spore. Now it has got a favorable condition with the environment and everything, in our body, it goes there and multiplies and it causes tetanus ultimately. So we don't want that to happen. So we take the vaccine, right? So that is the story of the tetanus. So we identify this by these spores. So this is usually a spherical terminal spores. At one end, spherical. Okay. Then we have this Clostridium tertium, which has got a oval terminal spore, oval central spore. These are Bacillus anthracis, oval central spore. Oval subterminal is Clostridium botulinum. Botulinum toxin, food poisoning. Okay? Which food? Bottled canned food. So if you have a canned food, you always should see it is not bloated. It is intact. So otherwise you are consuming something wrong. Okay? It's very bad toxin. Next is demonstration of spores, gram staining and modified Zn staining. Even by the gram staining, we can see the spores, the position of the spores. And also modified Zn staining, we also call it Kenyon staining. But that also we can see the spores. Application is spores of Geobacillus stereothermophilus. What is the time? We have half an hour time? Excellent. So this Geobacillus stereothermophilus. Can you remember this? Very difficult to pronounce. Huh? It's a very important bacillus. We use these spores. Just imagine the application. We use these spores for our purpose. Why? We have seen these autoclaves. Have you seen the autoclave in our room? Have you seen? Yes. Now, suppose a patient has got surgery. I am going to reprocess his instrument after the surgery for the next patient and prepare it. We put it in the autoclave. Okay? The autoclave has got particular temperature, usually 121 degree at 15 lb pressure or 15 lb pressure at 15 minutes, and then we take it out. But whether this process was done properly or not, how do you ensure? We ensure by using these spores. This spore is one small tube of this spore is put inside along with those whatever you want to autoclave is put inside the autoclave and we allow it. So what will happen? We want that spore to be killed. You understand? So then we bring out that along with that hole, we bring it out and that spore, and then we try to incubate that spore in a what? Incubator. You have seen the incubators also. So when we incubate that spore, if it is killed, what will happen? There will be this actually we identify the color change. There will be no change in color because it is killed. But now if there is color change, there is usually color to yellow. So then it means it has not been killed there. It is still multiplying there and producing that color change. Okay. So then we can say this particular hold of instruments has not been passed, we say. It is failed. So again, the whole lot of things, whatever, batch of things has to go for re-autoclaving. You have to first fix the autoclave and then send it again. Do you understand? So you see how we are using these spores. It's used always in hospitals. Any big hospitals will have it. We are using this. They are marketed. We can find. So it's like that. So Geobacillus stereothermophilus is an indicator for sterilization control. For autoclave and plasma sterilization, spores of Bacillus atrophius, both are important. You have to know this. This is another bacillus used for sterilization control for hot air oven. You have seen the hot air oven, right? Remember? Hot air oven and for ethylene oxide sterilizer. I have a whole class on sterilization and disinfection. There we'll take it again. Okay? Now, few spores forming bacteria, Clostridium botulinum, Clostridium tetani, Bacillus subtilis, Bacillus anthracis. Bacillus subtilis, if I do culture from this floor, I'll get it. They are found in many places. Okay? Bacillus subtilis, it doesn't cause much harm, but Bacillus anthracis cause anthrax, and Bacillus botulism, Clostridium botulinum cause botulism, and this tetani cause tetanus. Okay? Now, shapes of bacteria. It's a beautiful diagram. I thought I'll put it. So, everything, the whole story is there, the story of the shape. The shape is cocci. Basically, we may have mainly these two, cocci and bacilli. Bacilli are rod shaped and cocci is spherical. Okay. So, spherical, again, due to the arrangement, we have again characteristics like arrangement is also different. Means how they usually divide by binary fission. So, when they are dividing, some tend to stay together in one line, some tend to clutter together, some tend to get scattered. So, that's how. So, causes Streptococcus pneumoniae is causing pneumonia. Okay. They are diplococci, we say. Do you remember? Diplo means what? Di means two. So, diplococci. And then you should start talking. I was telling you how to remember microbiology. How to remember? In the first class I told you, right? Keep on telling to yourself diplococci, then only you will get it. Because in an exam they will ask you, name one diplococci. Okay? Name one gram-negative diplococci, name one gram-positive diplococci. You cannot just think. You want a second, you have to answer. Okay? So now you have to cultivate this. Huh? So it's like that. So causes pneumonia, Streptococcus pneumoniae. Then you have Streptococcus pyogenes, which is usually, in these chains you will get. Causes strep throat, you get strep throat, throat infection, upper respiratory tract infection. You take a swab, a culture, you will see these bacteria. And then Micrococcus luteins, usually in 4. And then Staphylococcus aureus, very important bacteria. You get it, boils in your skin, boils. This is the culprit, Staphylococcus aureus. It causes many other things. You have a whole chapter on Staphylococcus. Okay, can cause sinus infections and food poisoning also. Even it can cause food poisoning, which is very short incubation period. Within 6 hours, the patient has the symptoms. Usually milk containing food products. You get this. Okay, next is the rod-shaped bacilli. Their cause is anthrax. Usually they are rod-shaped anthrax bacilli. Then we have the typhoid or the Salmonella enterica or Salmonella typhi also. Salmonella typhi, typhoid. Typhoid, it caused by Salmonella typhi. These are again rod-shaped bacilli. Then we have got this botulism, this Clostridium botulinum is also rod-shaped. Now we have the spiral-shaped Vibrio cholerae. We have Helicobacter pylori that can cause stomach ulcers. The person who found out that is cause of stomach ulcer, he got Nobel Prize for Helicobacter pylori. And then we have for Treponema pallidum for syphilis. Okay, these are spiral-shaped. Classification based on gram staining. Bacteria are classified by staining into 2 main groups, gram-positive and gram-negative. And this is based on the composition of the cell wall. So this will be taken in your practicals, in your SDTs, and over here also, because this is important. Every time people want to know what is gram-positive, gram-negative, why it is gram-positive, why it is gram-negative, these things are important because this is important for our application, microbiology identification. Gram-positive bacteria, they appear which color? Purple. Okay. Now, cell wall structure. This is why. Why they are showing that gram-positive? That is the question. Because they have a thick multi-layered peptidoglycan that retains the crystal violet stain. We have used crystal violet first stain, is crystal violet. So, that color of the stain is retained by this layer, multi-layered peptidoglycan thick of the gram-positive bacteria. Lipopolysaccharide is absent. So, you see here, in this I have put here, this is the peptidoglycan layer which is gram-positive here, gram-negative. This is a thick peptidoglycan layer and this peptidoglycan layer is very thin in gram-negative. Okay? So, this thick layer allows the crystal violet to stay and it appears purple color. But in this case, what happens is, this is a very small layer And here in gram negatives, rather we have another layer in, above the peptidoglycan, and it is the lipopolysaccharide layer. So in gram negative, we have a lipopolysaccharide layer after the peptidoglycan, but we don't have in the gram positives. Remember this, okay? So lipopolysaccharide layer is lipid A or endotoxins are here, and core polysaccharides, and also O side chain, which is again for somatic antigens. So they have a thin, remember this thin peptidoglycan layer. The main responsible for is the thick peptidoglycan layer for the gram positive is responsible for retaining the crystal violet. So it appears purple color. But once you are staining, after the decolorization, there is a process. I will not go in much details. There are steps for it. After decolorization, you use safranin, which is a pink color stain. So then gram negatives take up that stain because they get decolorized. The crystal violet gets all washed away. Okay. So you see here, these are pink colors, bacillized, which are gram negative, and these are purple color, which are the gram positives. Classification based on acid-fast staining. Now this is another staining method, classification, which we often do every day in our labs, every day, because we want to identify which is acid-fast, which is non-acid-fast. Acid-fast is, why it is acid-fast? Bacteria in this group have a waxy lipid-rich cell wall containing mycolic acid, which makes them resistant to the colorization. So once stained, they retain the primary color of carbylfuscin. In this, the primary color is carbylfuscin. So this mycolic acid layer in this particular bacteria, they are so hard, they don't allow, in this waxy, anything waxy is very difficult to penetrate. So this retains this carbylfuscin color, and even after acid fast, after that second step is you will be using, you will be again using this acid alcohol, but it doesn't get washed away. It retains its red color because carbylfuscin gives a red color or pink color. So that's how they appear or retain the color. Microscopic appearance appear bright red or pink under the microscope, and common examples are Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which causes tuberculosis, and Mycobacterium leprae, which causes leprosy. These are important. Leprosy is caused by Mycobacterium leprae, and tuberculosis caused by Mycobacterium tubercle. Okay? And these two bacteria are identified by the stain only. We have many methods for culturing them, but their culture takes a lot of time. It is very time consuming, but we do it for their sensitivity, to know the antimicrobial sensitivity pattern. We do a culture, but usually it is done, the AFB staining is done, or ZN staining, and you will do it. You will also do it. It will be asked in an exam. Then we have other organisms which are also acid fast, that is Nocardia species can cause nocardiosis and are considered to be weakly acid fast. And parasites, Cryptosporidium is also a parasite which is also acid fast. Isospora and Cyclospora also display the acid fastness. So these three organisms, Cryptosporidium, Microspora and the Cyclospora, they are found in patients of HIV positive patients. Okay, where? In the stool. So because they are immunocompromised. Okay, so the stool we take from the HIV patient and we examine it. We do this Kinyon staining. This is a modified acid fast staining, and you get to see these organisms, and you know that this patient is having, because he is immunocompromised, he gets this identifying feature. See, these things you may be asked, like HIV positive, which parasite is you will be suspecting in his stool. There will be leading questions this way, that way. Okay. Non-acid fast, other bacteria other than this maximum, they are non-acid fast. These organisms have little or no mycolic acid because they have very little or no mycolic acid. So in their cell wall, so that it penetrates, it gets washed away. Microscopic appearance, this bacteria takes up the counter stain. So whatever counter stain you are giving, usually we use methylene blue, that it takes up the stain and all of them will be appearing blue color. Okay. And then common examples, most other bacteria like, if you name E. coli, Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, and Pneumococcus, they are all non-acid fast. Okay. So you have to know what? Which are the acid fast organisms, which are the acid fast bacteria, which are the acid fast parasites. You have to know this by heart. Okay. So this is what? What is this? This one is acid fast or non-acid fast? Acid fast, है ना? This is also called as Zell-Nansen staining. This is the guy who founded this stain. So we also say Zadan stain or acid fast stain is the same thing. Same thing. Okay. So these are Mycobacterium tuberculosis, this organism which is having thick mycolic acid and is retaining the carbonfusten. Okay. So it is appearing pink color. Bacteria with defective cell wall. This slide, I think it has been taken again. Physiology of bacteria. Now we come to the physiology of bacteria. Anatomy part is almost done. Now we talk about how they multiply, the bacteria. Bacterial growth and nutrition is important. Bacterial cell division, role of multiplication in bacteria, bacterial count, bacterial growth curve, and factors affecting growth of bacteria. So 80% of the bacterial cell is water. And what is the constituent of our human body? Do you know how much is water? 75% is almost water. They are almost 80% water. So water is so important, right? Minimum requirements. What all is required for their growth and nutrition? Carbon is required. Nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, inorganic salts, sulfur, phosphorus, sodium. H. influenzae has got we call these bacteria fastidious bacteria who have some extra requirement or else they don't grow. Okay. They have got niacin as the extra requirement. Bacterial cell division, binary fission, daughter 1 to 2. Okay. Nuclear division precedes the cytoplasmic division. First the nucleus will get divided, then the cytoplasm gets divided. Streptococci is in chains and Staphylococcus in clusters. You solved by now. Rate of multiplication in bacteria is called as generation time, the time required to give rise to 2 daughter cells under optimum conditions. Optimum, what is the word minimum of optimum? This is a very important word. Optimum. Optimum means not very less, not very more. Best. Okay? Best condition. Optimum level. So, under optimum conditions, from 1 bacteria to 2 bacteria, that is called as the generation time. Okay? For E. coli, see, it's so much varied. For E. coli is only 20 minutes. That is the reason. If anyone has got urinary tract infection, maybe today you have the symptoms of multiple times going to the washroom or getting burning in micturition or some lower pelvic area, there's some tenderness or pain. Maybe by tomorrow or day after tomorrow, you are seeing red blood cells in your urine. Okay? So, it's so fast. The E. coli bacteria usually causes urinary tract infection. Its multiplication time is only 20 minutes. So, it multiplies so fast. Okay? But Mycobacterium tuberculosis, it multiplies in 10 to 15 hours. It's quite long. And Mycobacterium leprae is 12 to 13 days. So, the culture, you have to keep it for longer duration. Bacterial count, total count is total number of bacteria live or dead in the specimen. Everything are counting. And viable count, viable word means what? Alive, no? Viable, viability, you see, viable. So, it is only live bacteria. Bacterial growth curve, this is very important for exam. They have some favorite things in exam. So, they will ask you what is bacterial growth curve, how to interpret the curve. Okay, let us see what it is. Bacterium is inoculated in a liquid culture medium and incubated. Growth follows a definitive course. They have seen, if you take 1 or 2 colonies of bacteria in a media, in a liquid media, and you allow it in incubation for some time, and then you plot it. You plot what? You plot the bacterial growth, logarithm of living bacterial cells against time, you plot a graph. So they have seen there are certain phases. Okay, this is the bacterial growth curve phase. So we have phases like, first is the lag phase, number one, lag phase. The words are so like, lagging behind, lag phase. Okay, then second is log phase, third is stationary phase, fourth is phase of decline. If you can observe it properly, you can make it understand. Now, what is happening? Just imagine. You have a test tube where there is some bacteria going and multiplying, and then from that you have allowed particular time, and you're seeing, you're taking from that test tube in particular time, and you're seeing in maybe what's happening now, and then after some time you're seeing what's happening here, 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 here. So multiplication you are seeing under the microscope maybe. So they have seen this lag time is no increase in number of living cells. In this, the cells are becoming, they're adapting to the new environment. You have taken it from another growth. Now you are taking a liquid culture medium. So now they have to first get adapted. Like we always try to get adapted, right? Human beings. First of all, you see, okay, this is good place for me, whether I can sit here or I'll stand, what to do. No? So they first try to adapt to that. They will see whether the conditions are okay or not. So here adaptation is required. So is a lag phase. Only the bacteria will be seen that they are becoming bigger in size because they have some nutrition, but they are not multiplying as such. So it is straight line here, right? Then what happens is there is a straight, you can see is going shooting up. This is the log phase. In the log phase, exponential increase in number of living cells. Here they have seen that, okay, now we have got good nutrition, now we can multiply. Now they start to multiply, shoot up, multiplication. Now, after that what happens is, in this stationary phase, here the multiplication or number of dead cells are the same. Now almost the nutrition is getting exhausted. There will be limited nutrition, you are not adding something on that. So obviously the bacteria, there will be plateau in this called plateau phase also. Number of living cells, rate of cells division and death roughly is equal. Okay, almost equal. Then is the stationary, decline phase or the death phase. Here and here more toxins will be, metabolites will be coming in here. And here what happens is, death phase or the decline phase, the multiplication will stop, but the death is also getting more. More cells are dying. So this is because the nutrition is exhausted. So this is the bacterial cell curve or growth curve. So here you see number of cells increase exponentially. Here is number of size increases, but number is not increasing. Cell number remains same and cell number decreases. Okay, is it clear? Very simple but important to understand. Okay. Next is factors affecting growth of bacteria. Now this growth, we have seen now how they are growing. So what are the factors that are influencing this growth? Due to some factors, they may be, potentiality of growth is becoming more, some is not. So these are the factors. So oxygen, temperature, carbon dioxide, pH, light, osmotic effect and moisture and desiccation. Factors affecting the growth of bacteria, oxygen is, now this again depending on their requirement for oxygen. Some love to be around oxygen more, some do not love. Some people like to be in between, like human beings. Some people try to be straightforward. Some people are introvert, right? Some people want, no, I will be in the middle. I don't want to talk much. So bacteria is also like that. They have got something different for different bacteria, and we classify them according to their characteristics. Okay, if you take in a test tube, if you mix some bacteria, the bacteria, some of them will come to the top because they love the oxygen. Okay, some will go to the bottom, they don't want much oxygen. Some will be in the middle. Okay, so like that. So aerobes require oxygen. Obligate aerobes, obligate word means what? Obligation, I am obligation. So obligate aerobes, They need oxygen. Presence of oxygen is Pseudomonas, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. These are asked in your exam, so I'm emphasizing on this. Do you understand? So, next is obligate strict anaerobes. This was aerobe, oxygen, obligate. Strict anaerobe means they can't survive in oxygen, they'll die. Strict anaerobe is what? Killed by oxygen, Clostridium tetani. So this Clostridium tetani, I'll tell you, if you have sometimes we say, if you have such an wound, at home, if you are having any wound, you should not always keep it tied up. Your parents must be saying, na, usko thoda hawa lagao, wo karo. This is also important. Because those anaerobic bacteria, they grow well if they are getting anaerobic situation. I'm not talking of all situations. I'm just telling the logic why earlier people used to say that. They will be growing in this Clostridium tetani wants only anaerobic condition. Facultative anaerobes, they grows in presence or absence of oxygen. They are like, ये भी ठीक है, ये भी ठीक है. Oxygen भी चलेगा, नहीं भी चलेगा. Like that. Like E. coli or Staph aureus. Microaerophilics require reduced level of oxygen. Campylobacter and Helicobacter pylori. So this is a diagram I tried to put. Growth location based on gaseous exchanges. So you can see uninoculated, nothing is there. I put the bacteria's obligate aerobes going up, aerobes towards oxygen. And this is microaerophil, little bit towards the top, right? Micro. And then this is obligate anaerobes towards the bottom. And this is facultative anaerobes. Throughout it is growing. Okay. Now temperature depends on the temperature. Some bacteria, most of the bacteria will go in mesophils. We call them mesophils. 20 to 40 degrees Celsius. Like our human body is how much? 37. 37 degrees Celsius. So the bacteria, most of the bacteria love this temperature, 37 degrees Celsius. So usually they are maximum E. coli, Klebsiella, they are all mesophils, Mesophils there is in this area. Thermophils are like bacteria which can grow in more adverse conditions, higher temperature. Like Bacillus stereothermophilus, that spore we are talking, it can even survive in higher temperatures. Now, the psychrophils are basically bacteria which can go in little bit of colder temperature also. They are very less. Now, next is the pH. pH is also very important. The media that we prepare, we have to test their pH. If the pH is not okay, then it will not survive. Your bacteria will be failing to grow the bacteria. Okay? The pH normal, as you remember in high school, the pH 0 to 14. Remember? So, more towards 0 is what? Acidic. More towards 14, after 7 goes alkaline, right? So, here is the same. Usually bacteria love this. Neutrophils around 7. 7.2 to 7.6 is the favorable. Okay? But some love to go towards acidic. They are called acidophils or extreme acidophils. Alkalophils and extreme alkalophils. Okay? You will get to know later because you may have some questions on like name some acidophil bacteria or like that also. Classification of organism based on carbon, energy and electron source. Chemotrophs are derives energy from chemicals. Phototrophs, bacteria that from light. Then autotrophs are for carbon dioxide for carbon. Then heterotrophs use organic substances for carbon and lithotrophs inorganic compounds for electrons. Bacterial infections, I will not go in much details in this, we are almost done. I already spoke about all this. This is one which I did not speak is skin infections like cellulitis and impetigo, often caused by Staphylococcus or Streptococcus species. Okay. Bacterial anatomy and physiology, what all you need to know, I just put here some. Bacterial anatomy and physiology in details. Differentiate between prokaryotic and eukaryotes. Differences of the cell wall of gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. principle of different microscopes and use any details about light microscope, because you will be already doing, some of them 3 batches have done, right, microscope. So those are important. Perform gram staining, acid fast stain and few more stains. Morphological forms of bacteria: capsule, bacterial spore, flagella, bacterial cell wall, bacterial capsule, intracytoplasmic inclusions, L forms, pili, biofilm, plasmid, Quillian reaction, bacterial growth curve. So these are some important as short notes you may get. Okay, you need to know all those.